Something is a-coming, something is a-coming. Silver is the grip of the helping hand. Keep the song a-running, keep the song a-running. Put it to the heart of the brand. Feed the fire, set me free in this city of dreams. Push my mind into overload. Hack the wires, smash the gene in this city of dreams. We'll be immortal in the code. Mind into overload. Light flash, taking your breath away. Black spies, neon nights. Car crash, freedom in the disarray. Are you ready to fight? Something is a-coming, something is a-coming. Silver is the grip on the bread in hand. Keep the song a-running, keep the song a-running. Put it to the heart of the man. Beat the fire, set me free in this city of dreams. Push my mind into overload. Hack the wall, smash the cheat in this city of dreams. We'll be immortal in the code. Mind into overload. Get out in the city of dreams. Get out, now we're setting you free. Get out, the voice will never die. Feet on the ledge, running out on the edge. Ghosts in the city of dreams. See the fire! See the fire! Go! Get loose! Feed the fire, set me free in this city of dreams. Push my mind into overload. Hack the wall, smash the gene in this city of dreams. We'll be immortal in the code. Mind into overload. Get out in the city of dreams. Get out, now we're setting you free. Get out, the voice will never die. Get out in the city of dreams. Get out, now we're setting you free. Get out and shatter the light.
There. Hopefully now you can hear me. Oh, it's been a morning already. Hello, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos, and this is my daily painting stream that usually starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. Today it's starting at 11 Eastern because I have audio and other issues with this computer. So, very quickly, before I begin, and I've already wasted enough time on this, so I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but here's what's going on. During my stream, in the middle of my stream yesterday, my audio cut out. And then one of my webcams froze up. So, and this was the epitome of but I didn't change any settings. It happened in the middle of the stream. So, I've done all the usual technical things. I've unplugged everything and plugged it back in, and I've rebooted the computer, and I've messed around in the settings. The long and the short of it is, I am not using my usual mic, so I'm sorry if it sounds very echoey. Hopefully, you can hear me all right. I'll try to speak up a bit. Normally, I talk very quietly, and it's possible that if I talk quietly today, you just won't be able to hear me at all. So anyways, that's the technical side of things. I'm going to continue to work on it. Oh, good. Thank you, Pi. I'm glad. I'm glad it sounds good. But that's enough frustration for one day. Let's at least get a little bit of painting done, and that'll make me feel better. So hey, let's take a look at the minis that I am working on. This camera's working? Yes, excellent. So I have been working on these three Furies. It's sort of the next three. So I had done 3 Furies already. Here's an example. Here's one that's completed, for the most part. You know, as completed as it's going to get. And it's very busy, and there's a lot of stuff going on with it. Oh, your cat is all snuggled up with you, Jules. That's lovely. It sounds very nice. Our cat is snuggled up against Amanda's pillow. It is actually cool enough in the apartment right now that she's not like sprawled on the tile floor. Oh, thank you very much. I'm very happy with... So the new wings, let's compare and contrast. Actually, let's do the same model. So here's this one that is done. Here's this one I have been working on this week. And you can see I've somewhat changed some of the detailing on the wings. They're not as flashy and busy and stuff. I'm going to do a little bit more work on them, obviously. But they look a little bit sharper, cleaner, I think. Anyhow, we're done doing the wing detail. That was yesterday's stream. We've got a lot of the sort of fine detail on the models done. Today's stream is about bases. So hopefully I have time in the 1 hour remaining to me to get some base painting done. So I'm going to paint them the same colors I have on this base, which is to say I have a light brown, which is flat earth. We're going to paint all the grit and the base that. I'm going to need to paint some skulls. My eyedropper of skull paint is done. So we are now using Citadel base Morghast bone for the skulls. And there's a sword that I'm gonna paint, and a shield. But I think we need to just dive right in and get to the painting. Because I've wasted so much time today already. Oh my goodness. It's good to be here with you folks. I am so glad that you folks are here to keep me company when I'm having a frustrating day and things aren't going the way I planned them. It's good to have a friendly chat community to hang out with me. Alright, so for the bases, I'm going to use this nice medium shade brush. This is one of the synthetic brushes that I bought. I figure I need to cover a lot of area quickly, and I don't care much about accuracy. Oops, I should probably shake that up, shouldn't I? Oh, yeah, I'm hopefully not going to dump an entire container of blue wash on these figures. That's not my plan. It was not my plan on the figure that I did it to. I'm actually lucky that it came out looking as good as it did after such a colossal mess that one time. But today, we are going to do a wash. We're going to do a brown wash on these. I might get to that today. We'll see if these dry sufficiently to let that happen. Luckily for me, I've gotten most of the difficult stuff done on these models. The wings really are the hardest part. And again, that's because I did it to myself. I was like, these wings are boring. I'm going to make them look cool. And I spent a lot of time and effort making the wings look cool. I had nobody to blame but myself. But having gotten through that portion of the painting on these, everything else is a little bit easier. Certainly, painting the bases could not be easier. So this should go pretty quickly, I hope. I'm just jinxing myself now. The more I talk, I should just shut up. Because I am inviting some further disaster. Had enough technical issues to last me for the remainder of the week. I hope this is the right color for these bases. I mean, obviously it looks a lot darker here, but that's because I've done a wash on that one. We'll see. Figure if I get paint on the lower extremities of the model, that just sort of sells the idea that he's kneeling in a muddy, swampy terrain, right? He would have mud on himself. So it's okay if I blep a little bit up on the figure. Does use a fair amount of paint doing this, though. I do like these new synthetic brushes. They're very nice. Yeah, it's not so much that I'm frustrated with myself for, time wasted. It's that, I don't know, it's very frustrating to have a problem crop up and have no idea what's causing it and just not be able to suss out what the problem is. I suspect, because it happened when I was trying to share an image to my stream, that something on this computer, I don't know, maybe it's a directory issue? It's very strange. I mean, for reference, my microphone that I normally use goes through a USB soundboard that I have. It's just a very small, compact USB soundboard. It lets me adjust volume and, I can pan left and right and basic stuff like that. When I'm capturing video games, I can also put the video game audio through that same small soundboard. And when I go into the settings in Windows, I can see that the USB soundboard is there, but for some reason, Streamlabs OBS, which is what I use for this stream, can't see that soundboard anymore. It was working yesterday, and now it's not. So maybe it thinks that it's already there, that something else is that soundboard. It's very strange and frustrating. So I don't know. I'd rather be painting, frankly. I think of myself as a fairly tech savvy person. Like, I think I know what I'm doing most of the time with regards to computer tech and stuff. Um, Not a fan of Windows 10 because it tries to be too quote unquote user friendly and puts a lot of the controls that I would like to have access to into, like, lockdown. So that's frustrating. Yeah, absolutely. Removing the drivers and reinstalling them is one of the things that I tried. I categorized that under unplugging everything and plugging it all back in. Um, I don't know. Just, this computer is cranky. I mean, I already knew this computer was cranky because um, it's not a powerful computer, and I'm asking a lot of it. This is a cheap $500 laptop, and I'm running a lot of stuff simultaneously on it. It does not have a lot of horsepower, and it's always been a little cranky. Thought I heard my cat meowing out in the apartment. We have a neighbor who I think at this time of year has their grandchildren visiting or something. Or maybe it's just that their kids play in the yard when it's nice out and not when it's not. But there have been a lot of sounds of human children screaming in the yard out behind ours. And I'm so glad that our cat is safe and indoors, because there are times when the sound of human children playing is indistinguishable from the sound of a cat in distress. This is something I discovered last year during Cat Search 2020. I would frequently hear these children playing and think, because I was constantly listening for Clara when she was missing, I would hear these children playing and I would think, is that a cat crying somewhere out there in the neighborhood? And then it would just be kids screaming at each other. I guess it's more accurate to say that a cat sounds like human children. I think that cats learn to sound like human children because it gets the attention from us that we would give to human children. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. That the vocalizations that cats make, that we are familiar with as cat noises, are actually learned behavior that cats pick up. They try to speak human in the best way that they know how, and the best way they know how is to scream like children. Our little fur babies. I'm so glad you guys are here, Pi and Sphere Song and anybody else who's hanging out with me. I was very worried that starting an hour late would mean that nobody would be here to keep me company. coffee also helps with my mood. My coffee maker has sprung a leak. It's most distressing. It's slowly getting worse, too. So when I make coffee, there's a small puddle that's forming underneath my coffee maker. I've jammed a bunch of paper towels under it right now. Almost time for a new coffee maker. And I do go through a lot of coffee. I am at an interesting time in my life, which is when many of the things that I use on a daily basis are things that I purchased for myself at a time when I was more financially stable, and they're beginning to break down. Like my watch, you'll notice, is held together with Scotch tape. That's great, right? This computer is definitely having issues. Someday I'm going to have to get a new one. My coffee maker is leaking. My car, for years, was essentially dead. I drove a very badly broken car for about 3 years. With a failed inspection sticker. That was that was sure a thing. It was like any potential fines that I could get. It wasn't a safety inspection, luckily. It was an emissions problem. The car had working brakes and headlights and that sort of stuff. It did not have working emission system. It was a problem with the catalytic converter, which was going to cost, a couple $1,000s to fix. So I drove around with a failed inspection sticker on the theory that if I got any tickets for it, they would be cheaper than updating the car. It would be cheaper to pay tickets than to pass inspection. It was not a great place to be, I will say. In general, I don't like, flaunting the law, which is sort of technically what that was. But I don't make the big bucks these days. I have a job I am passionate about, but it doesn't pay spectacularly well. Okay. That's the dirt painted on 2 of these models now. I'm still very happy with this little pile of skulls. I'm looking forward to painting it and seeing what it looks like in its full glory. Yes, it is true. Keurig, my character that I'm playing in D&D right now, is a lawful good character, and definitely there are aspects of myself. This often reminds me, there was a game that was popular in the 80s and that my family owned called Scruples. Lobster, you may remember this. It was a game wherein you would be presented with a moral dilemma, and then you would make a statement about how you would resolve this dilemma. And then people would debate whether or not your answer came from a place of honesty. I don't remember the exact mechanics of the game, but I do remember a session of Scruples when I was perhaps 15 years old-ish, where I maintained adamantly that I would never break any law. And I don't know, my understanding of law has changed somewhat in the intervening decades. As a teenager, I was powerfully lawful. I don't know. I like having clearly defined rules and adhering to them. I talk about this occasionally when I'm talking about why I like gaming as a hobby, is that it is a way to have a level playing field. Everybody agrees to a set of rules, and even people who have disparate life experiences that would make interaction in other realms unequal and unfair. When you're playing a board game or card game or whatever, role-playing game, as long as everybody understands the rules and agrees to adhere to them, the world makes sense and is fair, which is not something that on a day-to-day basis is true. The world is not a fair place, which is something that perhaps 15-year-old me did not appreciate to the degree that I appreciate it now. I think I've spent too much time looking at where laws come from to actually believe that law and justice are synonymous, which is something that I used to believe. I don't think that I think if you had asked me at one point, I would have said that most people who are responsible for creating laws do so with an objective of making those laws just. And it is a sad fact that that is definitely not true. Laws are made by humans, and humans are inherently flawed. Therefore, laws are inherently flawed. And some people are more flawed than others. Most forms of government put people in power who want to be in power, and that sort of person is not often the sort of person who actually cares about justice. Sad fact, folks. The people who make our laws probably don't care about fairness. Definitely something that would upset 15-year-old me. Hell, it upsets 49-year-old me a great deal. Alright, I'm done with all the dirt there. I'm going to switch brushes. That brush worked very well for that application. And you can see it's still fairly light at the tip, so the paint is not sticking to the brush a great deal. That's nice. Good brush. I'll switch to my small layer brush. And then let's paint some skulls. Oh, good point, Lobster Revenge. Sheriff of Nottingham is a very difficult game because it does require, any bluffing game, does require a level of duplicity that is difficult. My general attitude in bluffing games is just tell the truth, but do it in a way that seems suspicious, and maybe that works, I don't know. But like Coup and Sheriff of Nottingham and games like that, I'm not particularly good at. Okay, so let's paint these skulls. I like this skull, it's got sort of a crack in its dome, a cleft. This should look really nice when I get to doing a wash on it. Werewolf, definitely a game that requires some duplicity. This is that little pile of skulls that I made, that little cairn of skulls. And I think it's going to... It sort of faded into the background. But now that I'm painting it, it will definitely be more evident in the base here. Came out so perfect. how evident it is from the view that you folks have on this camera. These skulls are quite tiny. I mean, look at them in comparison to the tip of my finger there. It was a little bit of a challenge to get them to go where I wanted them to go. I'm exceptionally pleased with the end result. You know, in spite of all the frustration of getting this stream running today, there's a lot that I'm quite happy about with regards to the work that I'm doing here. These models look great. It's an exciting week for me because there's a new Magic set premiering. We're doing a pre-release starting tomorrow, and that's going to be awesome. It's finally cooled down a bit here. It is no longer so hot that I can't even think. I actually feel like I slept last night. I had strange work stress dreams, but I actually got some sleep last night for the first time in several days. So that was nice. My work stress dreams were entirely too plausible. I was dreaming that a woman had come in to sell some magic cards that she had, and she had looked them up because she didn't know a lot about magic. This is in the dream, you understand, but this is something that happens on a pretty much daily basis. And she believed they were worth a lot of money, and I agreed with her in my dream. These are valuable cards, if they were actual cards. But they were the most obvious forgeries I had ever seen, or not even forgeries, just not magic cards. They were like the wrappers of magic boosters glued to cardboard to look like they were the shape of magic cards. And she was like, this card, this is a Lion's Eye Diamond, it's worth a lot of money. And I was like, it would be if it was an actual magic card, but it's not. I'm afraid these are not magic cards and they're not worth money. And oops, I didn't paint the arm that's attached to this sword. This entire conversation that I had in this dream is 100% a conversation that I could see myself having in my job. This is the sort of thing that happens on the daily. We've been getting a lot of people asking us if we're looking to buy older Pokemon cards, because there's been a unprecedented surge in the value of some older Pokemon cards. There's very much a speculative bubble thing going on. And I feel like that bubble is beginning to burst now, but we still have a lot of people who are discovering that perhaps some of the cards that they have in their attics or basements are currently worth ridiculously large amounts of money, or at least are similar to cards that are purported to have been sold for ridiculously large amounts of money. I don't know. I suspect there's a lot of market manipulation going on, and these cards are not actually selling for these values, but somebody is trying to make it look as if they are. But be that as it may, we've been getting a lot of people asking if we're willing to buy older Magic cards or older Pokemon cards, and I've had to say no, we are not currently buying Pokemon cards at all. We had actually stopped that before the pandemic, so we have not been buying Pokemon cards for a while, but especially not at the height of a bubble. It would be exceptionally foolish to be buying Pokemon cards at this particular moment in time. I fully expect them to plummet in value very soon. I think it's actually started already. A lot of the pandemic speculative bubbles are bursting. Chat, tell me honestly, is that too weird to have this hand just sort of stuck to a sword sticking up out of the ground? I think I'm going to do some scoring or something. I'm going to paint in, make it look darker at the end, as if it's like burnt or something. Just have to sell the idea that that hand was removed forcibly from an arm. Not too weird? Good, thank you. So I realize that we're in pretty much the wrong area of the world, but did anybody in eastern US get a chance to peek during sunrise and see the eclipse this morning? I think it was much more visible south and east of us, like it was a Pacific Island sort of thing, or a Atlantic Island sort of thing. I don't think it was terribly visible from the eastern seaboard. I thought idly about getting up at sunrise to see if I could spot it, and then I was like, no. I actually am managing to sleep. I'm not going to get up at sunrise. Yes, Lobster, I'm absolutely going to paint the sword as if it is old, rusty, and damaged, and not worth salvaging. I am when I placed it, hopefully you can see, I sort of positioned it so that the sword is in the line of sight of the figure, so it's going to look as if the figure is staring at this sword sticking up out of the ground. Like, whoa, what's this? Let's do a little bit of detail work on that sword. Speaking of, I'm going to use this darker brown for the leather handle of the sword. And then I'm going to use that sort of burgundy red. This bit that's dangling from the sword there. As soon as I'm done with this sword and the shield that's on the other base, I'm going to start working on washes. Oh, thank you, Lobster. Lobster just posted a map of the eclipse. Yeah, so more visible in Greenland and places like that. Makes sense. So, this shield that is leaning here has bands on the inside of it that would be where it was attached to somebody's arm. So I'm try and paint those with this sort of leathery color. Basically invisible, they're under the inside of the shield. And then we're going to go to gunmetal gray, that sort of silvery metallic. We're going to use that for the shield and the blade of the sword. Obviously, we're going to do some weathering tomorrow when we get to finishing Friday. And this is just base coating right now. So I'm thinking these days about what I want to paint next once I'm done with all these figures from the Warcry set that I've been working on. Because we're mostly done with these 3 Furies, and then we just have the 3 Raptorics, and we'll be done with all the Warcry minis. There's still a lot of terrain to do. But I've been sort of thinking about what new challenges and techniques I want to undertake. I'm going to do another community art day the first Monday of July. So we'll do another community art day. And I have a plan for a figure I want to try and play with that week. Try out some new techniques and do some weird new things. And then I guess I have some Warcry terrain to work on. We'll work on that the remainder of this month once we're done with all of these things. I do love how pitted and worn this shield appears. It's going to look great when we get to doing the wash and detail work. I think July I'm going to start work on some Marvel figures. Alright, that's... Oh no, wait, I didn't do the bit of cloth hanging from the sword. So that we're doing this burgundy Vallejo red that I've used for cloth in the terrain and other figures. It's a great color. There we go. Cool. So that's the coloring on the bases done. Start doing a wash on the figures so that tomorrow I can go in and do some finer detail. Let's see what brush I'll use for this. I think I'll go back to that same synthetic brush that I was using on the bases. I'm going to use this medium shade brush for the wash. And alright, I'm going to do something risky. Hey, it's our old buddy Drakenhof Nightshade. This is the bottle that tipped over last week. So, trying not to tip it over this week. So I'm going to use this on the wings, on the panels on the wings. Make them a little darker, and to try and catch the edges of the wings there. On the other Raptor, or the other Furies that I did, I used a brown wash on the wings, and it made them look just muddy. It wasn't really what I was going for. So we're going to try this. There's not a lot of detail on the wings to catch the wash, so really I'm just darkening them slightly. I'm trying to highlight the edges of the fingers here. I think it looks pretty good. Trying to get some texture in there on the fingers. There's a little bit more texture to be highlighted on the bottoms of the wings. So we'll see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good, I think. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just want to quickly get the wash on the wings, and then we'll go in with the brown wash on the body, and especially the beards and horns, because there's a lot of texture there that I want to capture. But we're sort of getting to that point where it is time to say thank you again. I realize it's been a very short stream, but Amanda should be home momentarily for lunch. And I'm going to hang out with her for a little bit. So I'm so pleased that you folks could come hang out with me today. Made my day a lot better after the frustration of not being able to get things running as smoothly as I would have liked this morning. So thank you so much for being here, keeping me company while we talked about random stuff and got some paint on these models. Tomorrow, of course, is Finishing Friday, when we're going to do the highlighting and edges and stuff on these. So I will look forward to seeing you then for that. Thank you, Song. I will say hello to Amanda. We will be back on twitch.tv/Battleground Games Live this evening at 7:30 Eastern. We're going to continue to play Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective on stream. We have the one mystery that we were mostly done with that we were playing last Thursday. So we'll complete that mystery and perhaps start another. Amanda and I have really been enjoying the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective book, or game. We actually got to play one of the mysteries with Pi, so it was fantastic fun to have Insidious Pi visit us this past weekend. We went to Quincy Pride, and then we played some Sherlock Holmes and had a delicious dinner. So yeah, fun game, and I'm looking forward to playing some more of that. So that will be today at 7:30, and then over on Amanda's stream, twitch.tv/MerrimanLion, Amanda's going to be starting a new book today. She just finished The Grey King yesterday, and I'm afraid that VOD is already gone. It was because of Twitch issues. We streamed that from Battleground Games Live, and I didn't want to keep up a VOD on a Twitch page that is monetized, because you can subscribe to Battleground Games Live and such. And we don't have permission from Susan Cooper to be reading that. So we've deleted that VOD of the last chapter of The Grey King. But tonight on twitch.tv/MerrimanLion at 10 p.m. Eastern, Amanda will be reading the first, I think, 2 chapters of Silver on the Tree, which is the final book in the 5-book Dark is Rising series. Her hope is to finish the book on Midsummer's Day. So that's going to be very cool. So lots of cool streaming going on. I hope we'll see you folks there. I'm just going to finish up the blue on these wings. I still have a lot of brown I want to do. Brown wash. I may try and do a bonus stream this afternoon. I might have to go into work today. Normally Thursdays are my day off. But I might have to go into Battleground because we have this big pre-release going on this weekend. And I might need to go prep for that. We'll see. Maybe I'll be able to do a quick bonus stream to get the brown wash on these figures, so that I'm ready for tomorrow for Finishing Friday. But in the meantime, thank you ever so much, folks, for joining me. It was a frustrating day, but you all made it less so with your encouragement and your presence here on this stream. Thank you so much for joining me and being here. You make this a marvelous place for me, and you're a wonderful community of very cool people. I will see you folks in future streams. Let me finish this wing. There. Alright. So yeah, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me. I can hear that Amanda is home. I'm going to go say hello to her and have some lunch. You folks are awesome. So be excellent to each other and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. There we go. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.